Cost of living. Know this, if you plan to stay longer than a month, that is where you're going to work in Indonesia or retire there. For short visits, you can download and read some online travel guides. See my video titled Endless Paradise. Many of the video creators offer travel guides. The video has 3 parts. Part 1 will be the cost of living in Bali. Part 2 will be the cost of living in Jakarta. And Part 3 will be the cost of living in Lombok. Why include Jakarta? Okay, you wouldn't retire in Jakarta. The crowds and traffic jams remind me of New York or London. Jakarta is exciting, but can be stressful and more expensive than the rest of Indonesia. Still, many foreigners work there. It has become a beautiful, clean, safe, modern city. Some say it's like Dubai or Singapore. Unlike those cities, nature isn't too far away. You can escape to a beach on the Thousand Islands or hop on a high-speed train to the mountains of Bandung. What's significant about Lombok? Today, Bali is the victim of its success as a tourist destination. Lombok is what Bali used to be, not overrun by tourists. If you plan to work as a digital nomad, be aware of the visa rules. Indonesia is planning a new digital nomad visa that is valid for 5 years. When this was published, it wasn't final yet. Note, you can't work on a 30-day tourist visa. You must get a B211A visa. The B211A visa is valid for 90 days. It can be extended for another 90 days. You will not be taxed for the first 6 months. For working there and there are other kinds of visas too. Please check the current rules online. For those who plan to retire, there is a retirement visa valid for 1 year. You can renew the visa every year for up to 5 years. Then you can become a resident of Indonesia. However, you have to be at least 55 years old. Again, please check the current rules online. If you eat local food, you'll keep your costs down. The local food in Southeast Asia in general is cheap and delicious. In my video on Indonesian food, there's a South African named Jack. He ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner in Bali. Total just $4. Carissa, an American, did the same for $12. Other travel and food vloggers had similar costs. The biggest cost of living item would be the accommodation. Like anyone else, rental costs are location sensitive. Let's start with the first video review that advises on locations in Bali. All links are in the description. Part 1. Cost of living in Bali. Accommodations are the largest parts of the cost of living. Let's look at the first video that covers accommodations in Bali. Where should you stay in Bali? It has 425,000 views, published 1 year ago, and is about 9 minutes and 11 seconds. The channel is Rhett and Claire. Rhett and Claire are travel bloggers from South Africa. They travel all over the world: Mexico, Greece, India, Thailand, and more. Rhett and Claire have visited other places in Indonesia too. They lived in Bali for 2 years, including during the pandemic. This video is well organized and comes from their first-hand experience, except they never went to the expensive places where luxury tourists and honeymooners go. Different parts of Bali offer different experiences and costs. I recommend downloading their guide and watching their videos. The video lists many recommended places. Just pause it and take a screenshot of that list. Just a minor critique. The name of Bali's airport wasn't pronounced correctly. Ngurah Rai is difficult for non-Indonesians, but Forvo.com has it right. By the way, it's the name of a hero. Ngurah Rai was a commander in the War for Independence. Claire said that Canggu has become a world hub for digital nomads. Beware, rental prices have skyrocketed and traffic is now congested. While investors are expecting quick returns from high rents, avoid these places. Bali still has many places that are not overrun by tourists. Now, I didn't see any mention of places for retirees. Retirees want low cost, quiet, and close to good medical care. A quick search shows that Sanur is popular with retirees. Watch this video section on retirees in Bali. The next video is titled Top 5 Best Affordable Villas in Bali, Budget Travel Guide and Prices and Costs in 2024. Has 311,000 views, published 8 months ago, is about 23 minutes by Eileen and Angela Wanderers. Angelica is from California and Eileen is from Cebu, Philippines. They are travel vloggers. They visited Japan, Korea, Hong Kong, in total over 100 countries. Most of them in-depth coverage is parts of the Philippines, the parts not covered by many vloggers. The villas they show are from $9 per night to $100 per night. All look magical. If you want to explore Bali for the first time, it might be a good start. The video's description section shows links to the budget villas. Just make sure you stay on the main island to travel around. Avoid Nusa Penida because you have to take a ferry. I wouldn't cook any meal myself to save money. I would do what Jacques and Carissa did in my video on Indonesian food. And that means being close to warungs, which are small family-owned eateries, or close to street food vendors, not too far from the city centers, or order from an eatery on Gojek. There are many videos on how to do it. Let's look at some videos made by digital nomads. These are people who work online, not just visiting. Many have a freelance business like writing, photography, consulting, playing financial markets, and vlogging. Others work remotely as employees somewhere else. Even Indonesians do this instead of commuting in big cities like Jakarta. Most important to them is good internet and mobile phone services. Also good workspaces to be productive and exchange ideas. Finally, a gym to exercise and relieve the stress of work. I'll have a video about digital nomads soon. This is the first video on the cost of living in Bali for digital nomads. It's titled, How Much Does It Cost to Live in Bali? Insane 2023 Update. It has 502,000 views, published 11 months ago. It's about 18 minutes long. The channel is Lost LeBlanc. Although Christian LeBlanc is originally from Canada, his base is Bali. I'm not sure why, but the channel page shows that his base is the United States. He runs the Lost Creator Academy in Bali. This is a school where he teaches how to create videos for YouTube. Christian is building that school now. For me, his videos are the gold standard of travel videos. This video is probably the best among the ones I reviewed. It's interesting, slick, and explains well. It fulfills my expectations. One funny thing that Christian mentions, Bali now has Little Moscow because of the war in Ukraine. Some yoga classes are now in Russian. Christian covers all important topics with context. I love that he shows the range of expected prices for different budgets. Most people only show the prices they specifically paid. You get a balanced view of the costs and about what drives them. Christian is optimistic about Bali's future, past its current growing pains. I like his comment that Bali is well suited for hardworking digital nomads, people who don't feel aligned with what's going on in the West. There's no woke victimhood culture, only misbehaving tourists. Just watch this video and read the description. I bet Christian's upcoming in-depth guide to Bali is going to be good. This is the second video on the cost of living in Bali for digital nomads, titled, What I Spend in a Week in Bali, Indonesia, 2023. It has 170,000 views, published 8 months ago, lasts 13 minutes and 31 seconds, and the channel is Crosby Grace Travels. Crosby Grace is a travel vlogger from the US. She has backpacked across Latin America and traveled in an RV in the US. I'm a bit surprised by her comment that food was her biggest expense, but she does seem to eat well with a healthy, colorful diet. Her experience with costly gym prices seemed to match what Christian LeBlanc said. Overall, she did very well with her finances, especially being a first-timer in Bali. She had no complaints about traffic in Canggu. That surprised me. I'm impressed, especially since she's never driven a scooter before. Unlike many misbehaving tourists who had traffic accidents recently, Crosby took scooter lessons from a local instructor. That was a cool part of her video. Perhaps her experience in Latin America toughened her up. She summarizes her monthly cost of living being $1,700. Then says, that's what my friends in the US pay for rent alone. Good video, I recommend it. This is the third video on the cost of living in Bali for digital nomads. It's titled What I Spend in a Month Living in Bali as a Digital Nomad. It has 24,000 views, published 6 months ago, lasts about 11 minutes and 20 seconds. The channel is Georgia Caney. Georgia Caney is a British expat who has lived in Singapore for 8 years. Her online freelance business is social media consulting. She has an ebook guide to Singapore, which you can download. Georgia also has several Adobe Lightroom filters for your mobile phone. On her website, georgiacaney.com, she has several guides on Bali and Singapore. One of these is titled The Most Beautiful Airbnb Villas in Canggu. Her expenses are in line with Crosby and Christian in the previous videos. She said her villa costs around 1,800 Singapore dollars or $1,300 US. Georgia said a similar apartment in Singapore would be 6,000 Singapore dollars. She also mentions how expensive gyms are in Canggu. I suspect the demand for gyms for a town full of digital nomads is high. Like Crosby, Georgia didn't complain about the traffic in Canggu. It's because this was her first time. She didn't know how nice it used to be. Overall, this video is concise and informative. I liked it. This is the fourth video on the cost of living in Bali for digital nomads. It's titled, Can You Still Live Well in Bali for $1,250 per month in 2024? It has 95,000 views, published 4 months ago and lasts 12 minutes and 28 seconds. The channel is Juice the Nomad. Juice is a travel blogger from Finland. He's traveled to Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, etc. His online business is coaching people on how to promote their brand on social media. Juice is a graduate of Christian LeBlanc's Lost Creator Academy. He thought the tuition cost was worth the money, especially considering the large global community of content creators that comes with it. Juice's video is the most recent among the videos I'm reviewing. Like Christian, Crosby, and Georgia, Juice lives in Canggu. Somehow, his accommodation cost is the lowest, $645 per month. He saves on workspace costs by working in cafes that have good Wi-Fi. Juice is the only YouTuber here who has no complaints about the gym prices. Again, he never mentions the traffic congestion of Canggu. His cost of living is broadly in line with the others. Like the others, he mentions how accommodations are more expensive now. Food, on the other hand, is still a bargain. Healthy and delicious too. Juice loves the freedom and life that Bali offers. I think his video is quite good. Lost Creator Academy works. Go and watch it. This is the first video on the cost of living in Bali for retirees. It's titled, Our Bali Cost of Living Monthly, How Much Living Here Costs in 2021. It has 638,000 views, published 2 years ago. It lasts 9 minutes and 28 seconds. The channel is Jean Wernkova. Jean Voronkova is a retiree from Singapore. Before law school, she was a TV host and a commercial actor and acted in some soap operas. She got tired of the conventional corporate work lifestyle, even though she was well paid. Jean met her husband, Vitaly, while becoming a surfing instructor in Vietnam. She and her husband started a successful surfing school there. They saved and invested enough to retire in Bali. Today, she advises people who want to escape the rat race. Jean retired at 38, while retirement visas are for people who are over 55. So, she is both a digital nomad and a retiree. I'd call her a relaxed digital nomad or a creative retiree. Her lifestyle in Bali is more than a retiree, but she creates videos like a digital nomad, about 145 videos so far. She also does a lot of interviews. People around the world are curious about how she changed her lifestyle. I wonder if Jean and Vitaly still teach surfing. They never mention it. Jean goes into more detail about her expenses than most videos. Note that the prices are quotes for 2021. The prices haven't increased for many things except for food and fuel. In this video's description, I'll leave a link to her updates for 2023. She goes into more detail about misbehaving tourists than Christian LeBlanc did. Jean also has videos about changes in visa rules, etc. She doesn't practice law in Bali, but she explains well. Jean also has a good video on medical care in Bali. Retirees should watch it. She said that the Mayo Clinic is coming to Bali. That should improve healthcare standards. Whether you're a retiree or not, I recommend this video and her other videos too. This is the second video on the cost of living in Bali for retirees. It's titled, His Basic Cost of Living is $490 per month in Paradise. It has 735,000 views, published a year ago. It's about 23 minutes and 27 seconds long. The channel is Vagabond Awake. Vagabond Awake is a US-based channel showing how to retire early overseas. Dan of vagabondbuddha.com produces reports on retirement subjects from around the world. You can download the reports when you subscribe to his website. Robert Mead is a popular interviewee for Dan's community. He has lived in Mexico, but now lives in Bali. He's lived in Bali for the past 2 years. Robert, or Bob, has a life coach business online. His clients from all over the world call him for a week or more. He has a YouTube channel titled Robert Mead Power of Imagination. That channel has 40 videos. Technically, he is a 66-year-old single male digital nomad. Bob's cost of living is the lowest I've seen at $490 a month. Granted, he was very lucky to get a 2-bedroom house for $600 a year. That's in North Bali, far away from the crowded South Bali. From the video, you'll see that North Bali may not be as developed as South Bali, but it still has beautiful beaches, restaurants, and gyms. It may not have workspaces or large cafes like Canggu, but Bob's online work doesn't need it. North Bali does have Lavina Beach, where you can swim with the dolphins. Bob doesn't drink alcohol, but he does go to restaurants 4 to 5 times a week. He also spends, on average, $500 per month traveling around Indonesia. So that's the expense for our second retiree. Unlike the other retirees, Bob is single. The other retirees also cover medical expenses and insurance, but Bob doesn't mention any. I wish Bob did a comparison with Mexico, but he's been in Bali for 2 years. You can search for his other videos if you want to compare yourself. I recommend you watch this interview video. This is the third video on the cost of living in Bali for retirees. It's titled, "You Won't Believe What We Spent Living in Sanur, Bali in 2023. Has 79,000 views, published 2 months ago, and lasts about 19 minutes and 23 seconds. The channel is Bergs in Bali. Bergs in Bali is a channel run by retirees Kim and Berg from Australia. In Bali, the largest number of foreigners are from Australia. After all, it's a short flight. The couple have all their expenses quoted in either Indonesian rupiah or Australian dollars. To get the figures in US dollars, just multiply by 0.65. 1 Australian dollar is 65 cents US. Kim and Berg are true retirees since they don't have an online business or clients. They have a Facebook page where they post their daily adventures. If you follow them on Facebook, you get valuable information on where to eat and what to do. They love their villa in Sanur so much that they've signed a 23-year lease. I calculated that their accommodation comes to about $145 per month. Their expenses are documented in detail at the spreadsheets at the end of the video. They also explain some of the healthcare expenses such as dental and eyeglasses. Since they are staying in Bali long term, they bought items to make their villa more comfortable. Sanur is not as hectic as Canggu or Kuta. It's reasonably close to good hospitals and clinics. If you want a detailed breakdown of the cost of living expenses, watch the video to the end. This is the first video comparing cost of living between the US and Bali. The title is, "What a $1,000 per month gets in New York City versus Bali." It has 654,000 views, published 3 years ago, lasts about 13 minutes. Created by Brett Conti. Brett Conti created a clothing brand business in New York City. He does skateboards too. He has an interesting video about how he struggled to build the business from the dorm room. The business is now successful, and he's able to run it remotely while he travels the world. While traveling in Bali, he met Cam and Kels, a couple from the US. Cam is a commercial travel photographer and filmmaker. Kels is a yoga instructor. They initially planned to stay in Bali for 2 weeks, but fell in love with the island and stayed for 4 years. When the pandemic hit, they had to find other ways to make money. Cam started an online company selling camera gear. Kels started teaching yoga on YouTube. This video doesn't go into detail about the cost of living. It's a comparison of the main items of running a business between New York and Bali. The cost of living in New York City is much higher. We're more interested in Bali, so here are some numbers. For accommodation, Cam and Kel spend about $465 per month. For transportation on scooters, they spend about $40 per month. Note that Indonesia has some of the lowest fuel prices in the world. They have lived in other Southeast Asian countries, where the cost of local food is at rock bottom. Bali is different in that it attracts so many chefs from around the world. You have all kinds of international cuisine, yet the prices are still low. A meal at a restaurant in Bali that costs $12 would cost 10 times more in New York. This is the second video comparing cost of living between the US and Bali. The title of this video is, I live better in Bali than I did in the US. Here's how much it costs. Relocated. Had 1.3 million views, published 2 years ago, and it's about 7 minutes long. The channel is CNBC Make It. CNBC Make It is a US-based channel with stories about entrepreneurs. This video is about 33-year-old Olumide Gibinro, who moved from San Diego to Bali in 2019. Today, he makes $140,000 a year running a social media marketing company. He also hosts virtual and in-person conferences for digital nomads. The video shows a breakdown of the monthly expenses of $2,233 per month. His rent is about $1,000 per month, but the place has a gym and a restaurant. Olumide has an investor visa, which means a sum of money must be invested in Indonesia. He has a company that helps market real estate in Bali and other places in Indonesia. Olumide still has a home in San Diego, but Bali is his base. He said he never worries about the cost of living, yet his business keeps growing. If his customers are digital nomads, that's a growing market in Bali. Even stronger is the growth in Bali real estate, which I hope to cover in a future video. Part 2. Cost of living in Jakarta. Jakarta is currently Indonesia's capital city. A new capital is being built in East Kalimantan, also known as Borneo. With a population of 10.6 million, Jakarta ranks as the 20th most populated city out of 74 cities. The traffic is congested, but public transportation is comfortable, affordable, clean, and safe. If you search for recent videos in Jakarta, you'll find that it's beautiful and clean. The traffic vastly improved. All new visitors are impressed at the efficiency of the public transport systems. Accommodation is probably more expensive. Like in many major cities, just make sure you're near a light rail train station or a bus station. Note that fuel is cheap, so car or motorcycle taxi rides are affordable. Like the rest of Southeast Asia, food is also at rock bottom prices. This is the first video on the cost of living in Jakarta. The title is How Much It Costs to Live in Jakarta, Indonesia. Not what I expected. It has 107,000 views, published 3 years ago. Last 18 minutes long channel. The channel is Alexander White. Alexander is a travel vlogger who has spent several years in Southeast Asia. He has been to Pakistan, Turkey, Singapore, Indonesia, and is currently in Thailand. Alexander is married to Quintania, a lady from Bandung, Indonesia. She also has her own YouTube channel. Alexander is a photographer and a videographer. His YouTube videos are high quality. He creates promotional material for brands, hotels, tourist destination, etc. Beyond the visual recording skills, he explains in words well. He answers the audience's questions. Overall, he spent $1,256 per month. See the breakdown of costs about 11 minutes into the video. He has a comparison of costs with Bali and Mexico about 18 minutes into the video. Alexander said that Jakarta public transportation system is amazing. He has a special video on that which answers a lot of questions when he first arrived. I recommend the video because it explains well and is visually appealing. I find Alexander talks clearly with a perfect pace. Nice, sincere voice too. Note that the video was recorded before the pandemic. Also, this video doesn't show his wife. You'll see her in other videos. Follow Alexander's advice. Watch the sunset from one of Jakarta's rooftop bars. This is the second video on the cost of living in Jakarta. The title is Cost of Living in Jakarta, Indonesia, 2022. It has 433,000 views, published 3 years ago by Christian Hansen. Christian Hansen is from Denmark. He has traveled in Europe and worked in 8 different countries before arriving in Indonesia. He initially worked as an expat in Jakarta in the logistics field. Most of the other YouTube videos were made by travel vloggers, not expats working in Indonesia. Making YouTube videos and riding a motorcycle was Christian's hobby. He slowly built a subscriber base from there. Then the pandemic hit, and he worked from home most days. With time to rethink his life, he decided to quit his job to make videos full-time. Not just any travel videos, but a documentary-style series of riding through the entire archipelago. By sharing the experience, many Indonesians learn much more about their own country. His series is unique, growing the audience throughout Indonesia. They share tips with Christian. Christian speaks Indonesian after a 6-month initial tutorial. That helps grow his subscriber base. But he also tries to learn phrases from each ethnic group he visits. When I visited Denmark, the Danes spoke English, French, German, and Danish. Christian's cost of living was much higher than Alexander's, with a better apartment for a longer stay. You can see his total cost about 5 minutes from the start, costing about $2,050 per month. I would have been interested in learning how Jakarta compares to the other cities that he's worked in. I like this video, considering that Christian is not a professional videographer. His script and speech is good, considering that English is not his native tongue. If you have time, watch the other videos on his journey across Indonesia. He still has another 2 to 3 years to finish his series. This is the third video on the cost of living in Jakarta. It's titled The Cost of Living in Jakarta 2024, Low Budget. It had 2,200 views, published 1 year ago and lasts about 5 minutes. And his channel is Charlie Dupagny. Charlie Dupagny is originally from Paris, France. His channel is now based in the US. Charlie used to be a professional dancer in France. Today, he is a full-time travel blogger. He specializes in budget travel, even staying at a hotel at $5 per night. Charlie's cost of living in Jakarta is the lowest among the 3 videos at only $1,000 per month. His expenses are itemized near the end of the video. Even though his accommodation is only $450 per month, it looks clean and modern. The complex has a gym and a pool. It's located in Kuningan, a modern skyscraper-filled district. Charlie prepares a healthy breakfast and lunch in his own kitchen. He eats at warungs, which are small family eateries, for dinner. Note that this is the most recent video in Jakarta's cost of living. I thought Charlie's video explained the cost of living in Jakarta very well. Considering French is his native tongue, he's better than some who are native English speakers. I hope you watch this short but informative video. Part 3. Cost of living in Lombok. Lombok is the island next to Bali in the east. It's not as developed or overrun by tourists as Bali. The first video in this part is titled Cost of Living in Lombok, Indonesia, and How to Find Your Place to Stay in Lombok. It has 8,000 views, published 10 months ago, and that's about 10 minutes long. The channel is Make the Move. Make the Move is a channel run by Matt and Monica from the Netherlands. With their young son, they lived in Malaysia before living in Indonesia. They also create vlogs of their travels in the UK, Portugal, France, Greece, etc. After traveling to Jakarta and Bali, they estimated a cost of living of about $3,000 per month. Note that they have school tuition costs that the other vloggers don't have. This video focuses only on housing costs. Food and fuel costs are low, like elsewhere in Indonesia. Matt and Monica need a long-term rental for a family, not a studio or a short-term rental. It turns out that Lombok doesn't have the variety of housing that Bali and Jakarta have. They were resourceful and creative in searching online than other vloggers. Watch the video and learn how they search for accommodation online. This is the second video on the cost of living in Lombok. The title of the video is Move Here, $290 month rent plus street food, cafe shops, Kuta Beach, Lombok, Indonesia. It has 2 million views, published 1 year ago, and it's about 18 minutes long, published by Side Trip Life. Side Trip Life is a channel run by a Canadian who is based in Thailand. He's created several videos on Thailand and Indonesia. He likes to explore the hotels and restaurants surrounding the areas he visits. He says he's not a resort type of guy. Many hotels he visits are in the budget category. One of my favorite videos series he did was on Lake Toba in Sumatra. Note that he visits tourist destinations not working as an expat or as a digital nomad. So you won't find the extra expenses that expats and nomads will incur. No worries about the cost of internet or laundry. At least he publishes the cost of transportation as well as food, room and food. Overall, it seems that Lombok is cheaper than Bali or Jakarta. Side Trip Life's videos are popular. About 2 million views in 1 year. Wow. He gets inundated with questions on cost and travel advice. It's too much, so he won't answer. I don't blame him. But the videos make you want to go where he went. Just watch some. Tell me if I'm wrong. Now we have an idea about the cost of living in Bali, Jakarta, and Lombok. Of course, there are more places in Indonesia, but not many videos on the cost of living. Hopefully, we'll see more videos of different cities. For the next topic, I'd like to explore transportation. How do you get from one city to another, or from one island to another? We're talking about hopping on a bus or train, if it's on the same island, or hopping on a plane or boat, if it's on different islands. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.